Elder, Jim Henderson, and meteorologist Dave Barnes. Louisiana's news leader, Channel 4's Eyewitness News.
Good evening. This is the 5 o'clock news for a Thursday, May the 12th. Well, state officials today vowed to restore the home of 250 years of Louisiana history. Lieutenant Governor Paul Hardy says the Cabildo will be back in mint condition within 2 years. In the meantime, officials are still assessing the damage and trying to find an answer to the nagging question, why? John Snell reports on it.
Firefighters mopped up 18 hours after the initial call. Upstairs, firemen searched out hot spots well into the morning.
As all people were leaving, all of this was caving in. This is the main stairs.
Daylight brought the good news. They had salvaged much more than earlier thought. The most serious loss, the building's dome or cupola. But fire damage was contained to the roof and about half of the third floor. Still, the toll was heavy.
We've lost some historic fabric in the building, a great deal of historic fabric in the building on the third floor.
Investigators say the blaze began on the third floor near St. Louis Cathedral, but the church itself was spared even smoke damage, leaving one very grateful pastor.
I mean, the heat right here, you know, from the blaze was just, it was frightening.
As for the cause, the chief suspect remains a soldering torch a workman was using in renovations.
That has to be considered strongly at this point, but not conclusively.
Questions linger over how promptly the fire department was summoned.
Our people followed precisely the procedures that they're trained to do.
The museum director says fire alarms went off both in the Cabildo and at a private company's monitoring station outside. But it was some time before the museum itself called the fire department.
We indicate something like 7 minutes because we sent our people up there to see what the extent was before we made the call. But in the meantime, the monitoring company had made the call as well.
Fire Chief Bill McCrossan says the first call came in not from the museum, but from a police officer.
That, to me, is too long of a delay, 7 minutes. If you want help from the fire department, and that's why you got a fire department, you get them immediately.
McCrossan stopped short of saying the museum sat on the fire. At the Cabildo, they were stressing the blaze took place in a building 2 centuries old.
It's going to go like mad because it's a disaster waiting to happen. That's what happened here.
It's estimated restoring the artifacts will take about 6 months. The building itself is more complicated than that, but either way, the Cabildo will miss the summer tourism season and, of course, the Republican convention this August. John Snell, Channel 4, Eyewitness News.
All right, John. Well, it will be days before museum curators know the full extent of the damage to the hundreds of artifacts, even to those salvaged from the Cabildo. For now, the rescued items are being stored in the presbytere. Experts have already begun the lengthy process of evaluating and repairing the historic pieces. Officials say they're amazed by just how many items survived the fire with little or no damage. However, 2 priceless pieces were destroyed.
The first bishop of New Orleans that was lost, and it belongs to the archdiocese. One is what we call the Kunst armoire. The Kunst is the source for it for us. It's an extremely important early Louisiana armoire.
Experts from across the country have called, offering to help restore the paintings and other damaged valuables. Officials say the artifact collection is insured, and that should help pay for most of the repair work. But already, a major fundraising drive is underway to provide dollars to restore the Cabildo, a drive that's spearheaded by this station. Action reporter Bill Capo is here with details.
Bill, it's the kind of thing I'm sure that a lot of people are going to want to get involved in. As a communal pieces of our city's history, WWL and the Whitney National Bank have joined together to form the Cabildo Rebuilding Fund. Whitney officials started the fund by depositing $100,000.
Well, we've been here for 105 years, and as you know, the Cabildo's been here now for 200 years, so we feel we have quite a stake in the community.
To those of us to whom this building has such great significance, to think that the Whitney has decided and WWL has decided to do what it's decided to do, it is really, truly overwhelming.
Where will money donated to the rebuilding fund be spent? Well, museum officials say insurance and state funds should pay for construction work on the building and to restore museum pieces damaged in the fire. The challenge is to turn the empty building into a museum, and they have tentative plans to do that in a very different way, based on the important historical scenes that have occurred in the Cabildo and affected the city, the nation, and the world.
It has long been the desire of the board and of our new director to recreate, not to recreate, but to restore the building back to what it was originally.
Take the Cabildo and put exhibits in there to deal with the French colonial period, the Spanish colonial period, the early history of Louisiana, first as a territory and then as a state.
Sefcik says it could cost $2 million to set up such an exhibit in the Cabildo, and that's why the WWL Whitney Bank Fund is so important. You can be a part of the effort by donating to the Cabildo Rebuilding Fund at the Whitney National Bank, Post Office Box 61260 in New Orleans. The zip code is 70161.
Since the fund was first explained on Eyewitness News at noon today, Whitney officials say they are already receiving donations, but they started it with $100,000.
That's something.
Yes.
Let's hope everyone joins in. Thank you, Bill.